You love the book. Let me just say to you, I'll talk out of both sides of my mouth. I thought it was an interesting book to read.
No, first of all, it's not literature. It's not good literature. No. I do think it helped with awareness, okay? I mean, you know, what is her name?
How?
What?
How?
We're here. We're all here. No, it's not just that. First of all, I thought Skeeter, was young. She was doing this not because she had not because she had awareness, but she was young and she wanted to get into journalism. Her motives weren't really good. What I saw the maids as being the heroines in this book. Okay, first of all, the shit that they had to go through. And so often where they were domestics, they didn't take it out on the children, okay? And I know it's not authentic. I didn't think of it as authentic, but I did. Quite honestly, we made our three sons watch every episode of Eyes on the Prize, but I never knew there were toilets in garages, you know.
Okay. Is compared to down the street from her in Jackson, Mississippi? Medgar Evers is murdered on his front steps in front of his children. I mean, I'm just saying, put some weight on it, Catherine. You're from Jackson, Mississippi. You know what happened. So if you're telling me that is what that time and period was all about, I got an issue with it. That's what I'm saying. And this is what I said on my radio show. We talked about this. When Tom Clancy writes a book, he is writing it from a basis of authenticity. Now I know it's fiction. I know Tom Clancy made this stuff up, but what he puts it in the context is real and authentic. That's all I wanted her to do. And if she had done that, nothing she could do her same story. Story didn't have to change, except that in the context of authenticity, I think it would have changed. And it actually would have had more meaning. And so that the dialogue that we're having here, I said that the dialogue that's been engendered by this is one of curiosity about people like, why do white women like it and why do black women hate it? That's the dialogue, and that's a good one to have.
No,
because we can talk about
love
things.
it. I felt that I learned things I didn't know before. Okay.
Like what?
And
I'm curious. Like what? Yeah.
The audacity of having a toilet,
All right. So.
Okay. Yeah. And I taught American literature, and I specialized in minority literature, so I did a lot of reading. But there are things there I didn't hear before. The other thing is that these airhead, first of all, none of those people were obviously, what's her name? Skeeter.
Yeah.
Those weren't real friends of hers. There wasn't anything to the relationship, but to...
In her circle of friends.
Yeah, her circle of friends. Those were, it was black. But those black women cared about each other, and they didn't take things out. That's what resonated with me. Not the airheadedness of, it was such a caricature.
Right.
But
it was a disservice to the white women.
Abilene cared about, was it Minnie who's had the 5 kids and her husband was abusing her? Okay, she was caring about that and trying to get her out of that. So, it may not have been authentic, and I mean, it was very romantic that they would pull this off and not get something burned, not get killed. Okay, that I understand.
It's not even romantic. It's unreal.
Okay.
I gotta say.
But to me, those women cared about each other. They didn't take it out on these little kids they were taking care of and weren't looking at them saying, it's not mine. Okay, so I thought...
I take your point about if in fact, whether or not that there are many other issues going on in the world at the time that would manifest in a way that people ought to get what was happening in terms of racial inequity, if that toilet example stood out in a way that was resonant, I think that's powerful. Okay.
But even for people who don't know a lot about what really went on.
Yeah, I'm saying. So if that made people say, gee, if that happened, what else happened?
Well, how can a mother not read that book and think, my God, who was Skeeter's, it started with C, the person?
Constantine?
Constantine. Yes. How could Constantine treat this child that she was just sort of, when she's having to neglect her other child in this way? I do think for people that don't know the history, that would be an awakening. I realize, obviously, it's going to be different.
No, I'm taking your point about the toilet thing, because that is really, no, I'm serious. That is really annoyed the hell out of me. But I never thought about it, which is why we're talking about it. Never thought about it in the context of having a small daily example have a deeper resonance than, you know, some other stuff that may be historically accurate, but that you are aware of.
But some people
I'll take
don't
that.
know a lot.
I'll take that.
Okay.
In the middle back here. Yes.
All right, I'm going to take a risk.
Go ahead.
Don't knock me off your friend list. I'm saving the money.
I know who you are. But
It's me.
I know who you are.
All right, so all I was going to say is that I think everybody's in a different place, right? And there are a lot of people in here who are highly educated and well-versed on race, and I think we have to understand that not all of America is in the same place. So the risk I want to take is, I read the book, part of my daily work is around racism, all right? But I read the book for enjoyment, and the risk I'm going to take is to say, I kind of enjoyed the book. Okay, I read the book, and I didn't take the book to be historical fact. I wasn't taking the book to be, it wasn't superbly written fiction, it was a book, okay? And there was some stuff in there that I thought seemed right, some stuff in there that I thought was a little ridiculous, but I kind of think that if it caused some people to say, let me think about this a little further, or like, oh really? Let me ask some questions, and I think that's good. I mean, look at this room. This room is packed full of people having a conversation, and for me, there's a benefit to that. Now, you know, should it be the only book that's written? Absolutely not. I mean, if someone else can write a book that's more authentic and tells a true story, I think that would be great, and it would be fabulous. And maybe you're right that if a black woman wrote it, it might be not, it wouldn't be as popular maybe. But you know, maybe somebody should try to write it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like the fact that we're having the critical conversation, but I think to completely slam it is probably not so good. And
Well,
I just want
that's
to
me
say,
completely slamming it. Everybody else is.
no. There's been a lot on that. And then the other thing I wanted to say earlier was on the guilt piece. To the extent shame or guilt helps someone to realize and notice that maybe they need to step a little further, great. But if it's blocking conversation, I would say drop it. I mean, I would hope, I have a lot of relationships across race, and I would hope that my friends, two right here, they're supposed to back me up in the event I say if you know, would feel comfortable saying stuff to me. You know what I mean? Because then we can have the authentic conversations. Take risks, and if you put your foot in it, then be open to me saying, you put your foot in it, and we have a conversation about it. So maybe the shame is helpful from that perspective, I don't know, but I wouldn't want it to be a block. So sorry.
I want to say something about white shame, white guilt, to follow up on that. I mean, my experience has been that the discomfort is absolutely essential to recognize my unearned privilege, and my guilt and shame has been mostly about how blind I've been to that, how unaware, you know, the fish in the fishbowl that doesn't know water. But that it's been really important to me in order to move forward and try to take action and do something and change things, to recognize, you can hear how tense I am, that it's not that I'm a bad person. I couldn't help being unconscious about race. Growing up in this racist system that gave me that privilege, that gave me the ability to not see it, to not know the privilege I had, it's just part of this racist system. It's not because I'm a bad person. And having compassion for myself and for all of us white people, that it's just a given that that's going to be, and it's going to take a lot of work for us to pay attention and to see it and to recognize it. It means because we're good people, that we care. Thank you.
That's powerful. Maggie, I would just say to you that I don't have a problem with the book in terms of its being a piece of fiction. Just want to be clear about that. I thought she told a good story. You know, hate the fact that she couldn't get it right in terms of the context of it, because this is the thing. You said people can read other books, but people will not read other books. So this becomes the master narrative, and that's what I'm unhappy about. You know better. You know there's more to know and more to say.
Can I just say, Barbara Neely, people know her books are wonderful.
Exactly.
Books about, they're mysteries about Blanche. There are 4 of them. She wrote them in the 90s. And Blanche is a black domestic worker who is the detective. And she's really good. She operates in the north and in the south.
It's Blanche White, by the way.
Yes. So please check them out, because they really are terrific. And I join with you a little bit and say that, you know, this was, my sister is a school teacher, and this is sort of what she said. What, you know, school teachers have to deal with a lot of really, really bowdlerized and awful materials to try to teach things to kids. And this is what she was saying. It was like, look, it gets you part of the way. It gets you to look at something. Isn't that okay? And of course, I'm a journalist, and I'm the kind that doesn't get jobs easily anymore because I really care about accuracy. And I just am offended when I read something that evokes a time that misdirects and miscasts it. And you know, what I notice is how much distortion is going to be there, and how the lessons that people could take away are going to be really limited because they're not getting straight over. So,
I think one of the things that I'm thinking of now is, again, her right to write that book.
Yeah.
And I want to be very, very clear that I think any creative person can write any book. There's a responsibility to do it well. But as we think about going forward, and as we think about the conversations that we want to have and how we continue to grow, it's important to think about how we enter those stories, particularly when we are going into territory that we don't really understand. At least know that we are going in with one point of view. And to the extent that we're trying to protect that one point of view, we're going to miss something. I will quote Toni Morrison, who says it's an author's prerogative to take herself into the unknown, but not to take herself intact and come out the same person that she was when she went in. You go into stories for the process of becoming, of seeing how you too are changed in the process. And I love when I'm around, you know, I happen to be around a family of artists, and it's so interesting when they're talking about what's happening, about what they're doing, they say, we don't know where it's going to end. We don't know where it's going to take us, because they're going to be changed in the process. So I think a part of when I think about this book, and where I think the book is a failure, and how what we must avoid so that we don't end up telling Gone with the Wind all over again, is that we have to, each of us, from wherever we stand, have to be open to the process of becoming something new when we go into these conversations.
And as our time has come to an end,
We're staying 2 more days.
Not for the Collins people here. Unfortunately, it's come to an end. Let this not be the end of the discussion, perhaps the beginning. And I would just leave you with, this is my take on the book, a Native American proverb: he who tells the story rules the world, which is why I care about how the story is told.